Welcome to this episode of Permission to Leap. And today I have with me Jenn Pipe. And if you haven't had a chance to meet Jenn Pipe, she is absolutely awesome. So who is she? She is a passionate self-taught entrepreneur who shares her soul through creativity, writing, and art-based mediums. Her growing business, Self-Esteem Through Art, brings art-based empowerment to all, regardless of perceived artistic ability. Jenn is on a mission to positively impact the world through a healing combination of community and creativity. She has created a supportive, uplifting environment where you can feel empowered and alive, a place where people can lose themselves in artistic platforms while simultaneously finding themselves again. Thank you so much for joining me, Jenn.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. This is fun.
Good. I'm so glad you're here. So I know you have a way of reaching women and girls that helps them like really reconnect with themselves and helps them build up that self-esteem, which I absolutely admire because, obviously we've been teenage girls and it's not an easy road to get through.
Nope.
I think that was probably the worst time. Like that's one thing that I want to block out of my life, teen.
Most people say they wouldn't go back. If
No.
given a choice, they would never go back.
Never. But you learn so much in that time if you have the right people guiding you. And obviously you are one of those right people. You teach girls to have self-esteem and to give themselves permission to like live the life that they really want. So what is your definition of permission?
You know, if you had asked me this 5-10 years ago, Nisha, I probably would have given you a completely different answer. But right now, permission for me and what I'm trying to teach the girls and women that I work with predominantly, permission for me is about self-care, self-love primarily. You know, giving yourself permission to take the time to do the things needed to do to be your personal best. And the other thing that I really work with the girls particularly to do is to learn how to set effective boundaries. And, you know, that's a really difficult thing to ease your way into. It's not it's not an intuitive thing. You have to learn this thing.
Yeah.
And so those are my two big things, really, I think, as, you know, I've evolved over the years as I'm helping all of these other girls and women evolve and emerge is self-care, self-love, and boundaries. Those are my big permissions.
I love it.
Yeah.
Boundaries is definitely a big one. And I think when you start to break down those boundaries or allow those boundaries to be a little shaky, that's when the self-esteem and self-care kind of fades along with it. So those are awesome.
All connected.
Exactly. So how did you figure out what your passion was? How did you get to this art-based like way of bringing this?
You know, I feel like introspectively, this has been something that this is a long winding road that I've been taking since I was a girl.
Okay.
And it took me a long time to get here, but art was always a creative escape for me.
Gotcha.
And it was always a place where I felt safe and not judged. You know, there was nobody talking back to me, telling me my opinions were wrong or, I wasn't doing something the right way.
Right.
And, you know, where this all came from is, you know, in my mid-30s, I had, an awakening, I guess, where I realized I was not happy doing the work I was doing.
Okay.
And the question became, where do I go from there?
Right.
I did a lot of work on me, both to help me recover from that experience and to just level up myself. And so in doing the work that I did, which was art-based, which was creativity-based, which was so much writing to kind of work through and figure out what I was going through, I realized, hey, I just put together this amazing thing that helped me get through a really, really tough time. And then the more I thought about it and the more I researched it, I was like, hey, there's actually science behind this thing I just did. You know, no one taught me that. And so basically how I came to this was this was something that I needed as a person. And I went and I did the work on my own. And then having 2 teenage daughters myself, who at the time were much younger, it was like, you know what? This is going to be truly beneficial for them. And where they might not listen to me right now, you know, as that mother-daughter thing goes, they're eventually, this is the foundation for them. I'm helping them build this really strong foundation to help them grow into the women that they want to become. So that's where this all emerged, was, you know, my own kind of devolving and then my building myself back up again.
Okay, that makes sense. So as you were rebuilding yourself after your awakening, was it easy to love yourself through the process and give yourself permission to explore this opportunity?
Oh boy. Yeah, I think, that took a while because I think that being a wife and a mother, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like anytime you shake up that container of the way things have
Oh,
been,
yeah.
and then you start to shift them to the way you want them to become,
Right.
there's a lot of backlash that comes with that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of other
definitely.
people's opinions that come up, and then there was some guilt for me too, because I did walk away from a career with really no plan B. And
Yeah.
so I had some guilt around that. Am I doing the right thing? Am I being selfish? Am I going to be able to provide for my family? Maybe I should just go back and do the thing I don't like because I'm good at it and I can do it. So it took a while, but now looking back, I would never do things differently. I think it was the best decision I made. And I just had to learn how to kind of put other people's opinions where they belonged, just like, thank you for this
Yeah.
feedback, but this is right for me at the time. So once I could get to that place, then loving myself through the process became so much easier.
Got it. And I think that's the hardest part about giving yourself permission is the outside feedback that you receive is not always
Yes.
constructive or productive to where it is you're trying to go.
No.
So,
Right.
um,
And I had to, there were so many times through this process too, where I had to stop and really ask myself, is this the truth? Is what you're hearing the truth?
right.
Or is this just someone's, perceived idea of the truth that they're passing along to you? But is this your truth? And once I became more able to tap into what my own truth was, it became so much easier.
Okay. As far as the art goes, did you find it as, did you find it that it gave you a sense of freedom? Is
Mm.
that what it was that allowed you to give yourself permission? Was it the freedom of art? Like there is no judgment in art, so you gravitated towards that?
Yeah, it was definitely the freedom, and it was also the empowerment to put my feelings and my thoughts and the things that I needed to hear out into the world in this little container, but not only put it out into the world like you would talking or writing, like I
Mm-hmm.
had the ability to use color and to use texture to really capture what I was feeling at the time. So it was the whole enveloping of words and imagery and color and everything together. It was that whole engaging the right brain when I tend to be a very left brain thinker sometimes. And so that was really freeing for me. And I'm self-taught. So I didn't
That's
go to
awesome.
art school. I don't have an art background per se. It's just something I've always liked. And I allow myself the time and space to be creative. And I let myself flow with the process and
Mm-hmm.
try not to get too wrapped up in perfectionism because
Okay.
that's crippling.
Yeah,
Just giving myself the freedom to play and to just do this thing. So many things come to the surface. So,
that makes a lot of sense. But I
yeah.
would never know that you were self-taught
Mm.
by the vibrance and like the emotion behind the work that you do.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
very compelling and it's like it reaches down into you and it's like, that's what I want. I
Oh,
want
thank you.
all of that.
Thanks. Yeah. And that's repetition. It's just giving myself permission over and over and over again to go back to this place, to pick up these tools and to say, all right, let's have some fun. What are we going to figure out today?
I love that. So
Yeah.
permission is definitely a daily action. It's
Oh,
not a
yeah.
one-time thing.
No, no, no. So many permissions every single day.
Right. So how are you able to profit from your passion? Like, how did you make that transition where it was just something that you did for you to something that you shared with the world?
I actually started really small. So I dipped my toe into that really gigantic body of water. And I started with a summer program for girls in the town that I live in. And so
Okay.
I reached out to friends, people that I knew through sports. My girls play sports. So people that
Okay.
I knew through there. I just said, hey, would you be interested in having your daughters come to this for a week? This is the theme that I'm doing.
Oh,
And
wow.
there was overwhelming response to that. And so I had a room full of girls. I rented space. And at the end of the week, the feedback that I got was more than I ever could have dreamed. You know, people were telling me that this needs to be a curriculum in schools and you need to be out in the world doing that. And I wish that you could bring this to my church,
Wow.
and so many things. And so I sat with that for a little while, and I was
Mhm.
like, you know what, this is a thing. Like, I don't know how big this thing can be yet, but this is a thing. And this is good because the girls did feel empowered and loved and seen more than anything. Like, they were seen as they showed up each day, not as something that I wanted them to be.
Right.
They got to show up as they were. And it was really cathartic for them too, just to have that really supportive environment where they could just show up. And so from there, it morphed into after school programs and working with schools and recreation departments. And it took a while, but now I have my own studio space. So I hold regular programs there all the time, and I work with private clients there. So it was, it was kind of like this slow immersion. But
Hmm.
now that I've figured out the business side of it, which was always the hardest part for me,
Right.
things are starting to grow. So
Okay. So I know you have your own studio now. Are you still going to the schools, and are you like emerging into the churches and
I
social?
do, church was never a place that really was welcoming to this kind of thing. And
Wow.
I'm not really sure why that is. It was just like, oh, we don't really have anything like that, or, and so that wasn't a place where I ended up going, but I do still work with schools. I have schools reach out to me. So I'm in the schools an average of 4 times a year, at different places,
That's
teaching different
awesome.
things. Most of the work that I do now is in studio.
Okay.
So kids will come to me, a group per se, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, they'll show up and we'll do a private class based on something that their troop leader wants them to get the badge for, or stuff like that.
Okay.
But I am still going out into schools and, into the community, and that's really exciting for me.
Awesome. So what's your next big thing?
Well, my next big thing, I've actually been transitioning into that since the end of 2017. So I'm starting to transition my programs into more of an online format. So
Okay.
I'll still, I think, always have a studio space because I love that in-person energy.
Right.
But what I've come to discover is that so many people want access to this, but they're not demographically close enough to make it happen. So this is me just really being deliberate and starting to bring my programs to the masses. Mostly women at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't quite figured out how to translate what I do for adolescents and teens into the online space yet. They're online for a different reason.
Right.
But helping bring this to women, because I feel like when women are at their best, right, they're doing the work of raising their families at their best.
Very
So,
true.
yeah.
Very true. I love that.
Yeah.
So how can we find out more about you and what you're doing? Where can we find you?
Oh God, you can find me everywhere, Nisha.
Love it.
So I do have a website. So my website is jennpipe.com, Jenn with 2 N's. So JENNPIPE.com.
Mm-hmm.
And if you click on the Self-Esteem Through Art tab, there'll be so much information about the programs, our mission, the kind of work we do, the classes we offer. And also online social media. So my Instagram account is Jenn Pipe, and I have 2 Facebook platforms that I'm very active in. So I have my Self-Esteem Through Art business page. And so people can join that, and it's just as simple as liking it. And also I have a private group right now. It's called Self-Esteem Through Art with Jenn Pipe, where I go a little bit deeper than I do in my business page.
Right.
So people are getting art tips. They're getting personal development tools. We have weekly prompts every week that we go through. And so it's a deeper dive into the experience, which people are enjoying so far.
Yeah, and there's something on there that you do where you actually demonstrate like how you can do something real quick that just gives you a little boost in your step.
Yeah.
Which I
Yeah.
think, everybody should go check out this group because it's very empowering because it allows you to just be you without the judgment.
Mm.
Which
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, Nisha, that's really important to mention, because I know a lot of times people hear art or creativity and they're like, whoa, I'm
yes.
not an artist, so I'm not having that. I'm not hearing what you're saying. But
Right.
this is for artists and non-artists alike. I don't care if you take a glue stick and a newspaper cutout, and that can be art. Art isn't doesn't always have to be something that's going to hang in the Louvre,
Right.
you know? So, you know, again, this is for everybody. This is just for people who, again, like we talked about earlier, want to give themselves permission to be in an arena that is forgiving and safe and cathartic and empowering.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And we will be sure to have the links posted so that people can find you. But again, thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the internet.
Thank you so much, Nisha. Thank you for having me.
Hooray, have a good one.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.